Hey lovelies! So I'm sure you've guessed by now that our theme this month is all about getting our healthy eating back on track. And as you know, I believe the best way to do that is with meal prep. So today I've got 5 awesome new meal prep ideas for you. And instead of lunch meal preps today, I am sharing breakfast ideas. As I'm sure you've heard, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So these ideas are really great to make ahead of time. And then you can just grab them on the go in the morning and you've got a healthy breakfast to start your day with. How great is that? Just before we get to our tasty breakfast meal prep ideas, I wanted to mention that I have teamed up with the Food Network to bring you a brand new series on their YouTube channel called Better Than Takeout. I am sharing some of my all-time favorite dinner recipes that are really, really easy to prepare, but super nutritious and super delicious. What is not to love about that? Once you're done watching this tasty video, don't forget to check out the entire playlist. I am so super excited about this series. And to be honest, it has always been on my bucket list to work with the Food Network. So this is a huge thrill. I really appreciate all of your support and I hope you will give it a watch. All right, without further ado, let's get to some breakfast meal prep. We are starting with a kale and sweet potato meal prep that is to die for. We're going to start by sauteing our kale. If you're not a kale fan, sauteed kale is actually a great way to introduce it into your diet. It's a little easier to eat than, say, a raw kale salad. Now, I like to get started with a little bit of oil heating up in a skillet on the stove. To that, I am going to add some finely sliced garlic. Once that garlic has become fragrant, after just about 30 seconds or so, you can go ahead and add your finely chopped kale. And then to add a little moisture to our pan, I like to add a few drops of vegetable broth. Not only is this going to help our kale wilt down a little bit, it's also going to add some much needed flavor. Speaking of flavor, we are going to add a few splashes of balsamic vinegar, some salt and pepper, and some red chili flakes, which of course, as always, are optional, but as always, are delicious. So totally your call. To complement this beautiful, tangy, sauteed kale, we are going to roast up some delicious sweet potatoes. So I've got my sweet potatoes peeled and cut into cubes and I'm just arranging them on a baking sheet. I'm going to hit these with a little bit of oil and season them up with some paprika and some freshly chopped rosemary, a little salt and pepper. And then I'm going to get these guys in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes or so, or until they are nice and soft and tender and cooked through and they have started to caramelize on the outside. That's when the magic really happens with sweet potatoes. It's when that caramelization starts to happen. Once your sweet potatoes are cooked, you can go ahead and start building your meal prep box. We are going to add our kale first, then our sweet potatoes, and then for some protein, I am adding a boiled egg. I'll season that with a little salt and pepper. And finally, I'm going to serve this with a few teaspoons of tahini sauce. If you're not familiar with tahini, it's got a really nutty flavor and it's a really great complement to all the flavors in this box. If you're not a tahini fan, not to worry, you can go ahead and use some hummus here instead. That would be really tasty. Come on guys, how great does this breakfast look? Something you can feel really, really good about, and I would say an excellent way to start your day. Next, if you prefer to get your morning started with something a little sweeter, you should try my baked oatmeal and apple chip meal prep. Now this, of course, starts by creating some beautiful apple chips. I love apple chips. They take a little bit of time in the oven, about 2 hours or so to fully dehydrate, but trust me, when you get that perfect crunch, you'll know it was all worth it. I'm starting by thinly slicing my apples. The best way to do this, I think, is with a mandolin. That's how you get really uniform slices. If not, you can do this with a really, really sharp knife, but just use caution because, of course, we want to keep all 10 of our digits if we can. Once you've got your apple sliced, you can go ahead and arrange the slices on a parchment-lined baking sheet. I'm going to hit these with just a little sprinkle of cinnamon, and then into the oven they go at 225 degrees Fahrenheit, nice and low, for about 2 hours. Once they come out of the oven, they are lovely and golden and crispy and oh so perfect for breakfast. I love enjoying them with one of my all-time favorite make-ahead breakfast ideas, my baked oatmeal. Now, I have made so many flavors of these over the years on the channel, but today we are going to make a really tasty banana nut baked oatmeal. oh yeah, your taste buds will thank me, I promise you. Now, of course, because this is banana nut baked oatmeal, it starts with some banana. I've got 1 large banana in my bowl, and I'm just going to give it a quick mash with a potato masher. Next, I am going to add my rolled oats. Then it's time for my brown sugar, which adds a little sweetness, my cinnamon for flavor, some baking powder for lift. I'm adding some vanilla extract, some milk, an egg, and finally, I've got about half a cup of chopped walnuts going into my bowl. We'll give this all a good stir, and then I am going to scoop this batter into some silicone baking cups. You could definitely use any regular cupcake liner if you wanted to, but I think these are really, really handy, of course, because they are reusable and super portable. We'll get these beauties into the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes or so, or until they are completely set. And then they can be enjoyed all week long. You can store these guys in the fridge for up to a week, which I love, or make a double or triple batch and store the rest in the freezer. They thaw really beautifully and they are oh so tasty. To complete my meal prep, I'm going to be adding 2 baked oatmeal into my dish, a whole handful of apple chips, and then some really tasty trail mix to help fill you up. Sweet, spiced deliciousness. What a lovely way to say good morning. Next, as you probably already know, I am really passionate about practicing Meatless Monday. So here is a great vegan option for all of you who want to eat a more plant-based diet. We are making a vegan tofu scramble with some beautiful roasted red potatoes. Super filling, protein-packed, really, really delicious. We'll get started by mixing up our vegan tofu scramble. You guys would actually be surprised how much these taste like real scrambled eggs. I'm starting with a little bit of oil heating up in a skillet on my stove. To that, I'm going to add some finely chopped red pepper and some broccoli florets. I'm going to cook those, tossing them regularly until they start to soften up a little bit. Next, I am adding 1 cup of crumbled tofu. Now, if you buy extra firm tofu, that is the best way to go in a recipe like this. You can basically just crumble it up with your hands, and what you end up with is a texture very, very similar to eggs. To add a little color and flavor, I've got some ground turmeric, a little garlic powder, some red chili flakes for the heat, and some soy sauce for a nice savory flavor. Once all of this tastiness is heated through, between 2 and 3 minutes later, you can go ahead and add some freshly chopped green onion to finish it off. Give that a good toss, and what you have is a breakfast of champions. I guarantee it. This stuff is amazing and will last in the refrigerator for between 3 and 4 days. To complement all of the tasty flavors in our tofu scramble, I am making some roasted red potatoes. I've got some finely chopped red potatoes on a baking sheet. I'm just going to toss them with a little bit of oil, some garlic powder, some fresh thyme, and some salt and pepper. We'll get these into the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit until they are nice and tender and golden, about 25 to 30 minutes. And once they're ready, oh man, do you ever have a delicious breakfast happening. We're going to build our meal prep boxes by adding our tofu scramble and our roasted potatoes and finishing it off with some cherry tomatoes. And there you have it, vegan breakfast is served. For my next breakfast meal prep, I am making a protein-packed parfait. Now, instead of using traditional granola in this recipe, I'm actually going to be using some cooked quinoa mixed with some beautiful fresh berries. Really, really good stuff. I've got my cooked quinoa in my bowl. To that, I am going to add a handful of beautiful fresh berries. I'm also going to be adding some heart-healthy chia seeds, a little sprinkle of cinnamon, and some maple syrup for just a touch of sweetness. We'll stir this all together and then transfer it into half of our meal prep dish. The other half of our dish, I am going to fill with some protein-packed, vanilla-flavored Greek yogurt, and I'm also going to add some finely chopped almonds for a good amount of crunch. Healthy, hearty, filling, tastes good, and is also good for you. What more can you want out of breakfast? Get it? Quinoa want? Quinoa? We really worked hard on that one. I feel like it was a bit of a stretch though. Moving on to our final meal prep, I have got my easy egg frittata breakfast. Now, I have made a ton of mini frittatas on the channel over the years. I really do find them one of the very best protein-packed but portable breakfasts, which is why I love them so much. In this case, I am making a really tasty asparagus and Swiss mini frittata. This all starts by mixing up some eggs with a little bit of milk and some salt and pepper. I'll mix that all up and set it aside while I start to prepare my muffin tin. I've got some silicone liners hanging out in my muffin tin. To those, I am going to add some chopped steamed asparagus. Then I will pour in my egg mixture, top that with a little bit of shredded Swiss cheese. You could also use cheddar here, both would work really well. And then finish these off with some freshly chopped chives. We'll get these into the oven at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for between 15 or 20 minutes or until these are completely set. And then they can be enjoyed either straight out of the oven hot, or you can eat them cold. They're still really tasty that way. I love serving these best with a little fresh green salad. I'm making mine today with some arugula, some chopped cucumber, some tomatoes, some red onion, and a red wine vinaigrette. I know it seems a little peculiar to have a salad for breakfast, but let me tell you, the sooner you start getting your greens in the morning, the more likely you are to reach your 5 to 10 servings a day. And bada bing, bada boom, 5 extraordinary ways to start your day off right. I hope you guys were inspired by these meal prep ideas and that you'll give them a try. If you do, be sure to tweet me, Instagram me, or Snapchat me a photo because I always love seeing your kitchen creations. Keep in mind, all of the full recipes are available in the description box below, so you can take a look for them there. Also, I am sharing new meal prep ideas every single day this month on my Instagram account, so if you're not following me already, please do so at the Domestic Geek one. And finally, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because there is lots more deliciousness where this came from.